Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books. So, I read a couple books semi-recently. It's been kind of a slow couple of reading months for me. I've just been reading kind of slow. Yeah, I don't know if I've been distracted or what, probably. But I have 4 to talk about today. And the first one was one that I selected, I think, for Sequelathon, but I did not finish it during Sequelathon, I don't think. It also could have counted for Rereadathon. But that is The Carnivorous Carnival by Lemony Snicket, part of the series of Unfortunate Events. This is book 9. This one was one of my least favorite ones, and I didn't remember it that much, and I can see why, because kind of nothing happened. I think we're ramping up towards like the climax of the series. So the rest of them I've been rating pretty much like 4 or 5 stars, I think. This one ended up getting, on the reread, a 6.6 on my 1 to 10 scale, which translates to 3.5 Pushinicorns. So like I still quite enjoyed it. It's a series of unfortunate events. Daniel Handler's writing style is just, in this series, it's just perfection for me. I love it so much. So I still love that, but just the characters and the plot, I was kind of like, meh. Then I read book 3 of the first, Legends of the First Empire series by Michael J. Sullivan. That is Age of War. This, I think, was also one that I selected for Sequelathon, but I definitely did not finish it by then. This took me a minute to get into. I really love this world, and I love these characters quite a bit. But I think because I was just reading too many things and, again, distracted by things going on in my life. And so I wasn't really fully invested in it for probably the first, half of the book. I was reading it, and, when I would pick it up, I was enjoying what I was reading. But I was reading a bunch of other things, and I was just a little distracted. So I wasn't really focusing while I was reading. Do you know what I mean? But then towards the end, the last half/quarter, things picked up. I even had a couple of moments, these indicating, where I got a little emotional. And things were happening. And it was kind of sad. We lost some key characters. And if you've read Michael J. Sullivan's other series, I think it's the Chronicles of something, I can't remember. This is the prequel series. So this is the history and the lore that comes later in that other series. So if you've read the other series, you probably know already the characters that we're gonna lose and everything, but I don't. I've never read the other series. So for me, it was all new, and I was kind of a little devastated. But I didn't cry or anything, but still. On my 1 to 10, I gave this an 8.5, which translates to 4.5 Pushinicorns. Pretty great. Then I finally picked up Adverbs by Daniel Handler, who is also Lemony Snicket. This was for Sequelathon or Rereadathon. This was for Rereadathon. Oh my God, it was. Yeah, this isn't a sequel. This was for Rereadathon because I tried reading this book years and years ago, and I couldn't get into it. His writing style it's weird. It's goofy, and it's silly, and it's nonsensical sometimes. In the series of Unfortunate Events, that's a middle grade series, he definitely made the narrative more clear in that. And I read another one of his books that had a very clear narrative. There was a plot twist like a motherfuck that I did not see coming, The Basic 8. But this one is an adult contemporary, and it is so nonsensical. Oh my God, it's so weird. It's all over the place. So the point of the book is it's a bunch of love stories, okay? But it's a bunch of different people, a bunch of different characters, and each chapter is titled something like immediately, obviously, arguably, particularly. So it's all the ways in which people fall in love and feel love. It says on the back here, it's not the nouns, the miracle is the adverbs, the way things are done. This novel is about people trying to find love in the ways that it is done before the volcano erupts and the miracle ends. So there's a volcano. And it all is centering around people in the San Francisco area or New York. And you hear the same names over and over again. There's Allison in here like in 4 different chapters. There's Helena in like 3 different chapters. There's a Peter and I think a David and just all these different names that sometimes you're like, oh, that's that person from that other chapter. But then like sometimes it's just a different character with the same name. And I saw some reviews where people were like, I had to like start writing it down and drawing connections to people to figure out like whose ex was who and with who now. But then other people, and this is what I did eventually, because like I just feel like you can't enjoy it if you try to do it that way. And other people were like, you have to just accept that it's a little nonsensical and that these are probably different characters entirely. They just have the same name and you just have to like put out of your mind trying to organize it all in your brain. And so that's what I ended up doing. About 25% of the way through, I was very like, I'm like, what? Is that the same Allison that was with the other guy in New York, but now they're in what? I don't understand. And at that point is when I went and looked at some reviews to see if other people were, I was like, am I just dumb? And I saw these other reviews saying the same thing. And I was like, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna accept that this is all over the place and it's not supposed to make sense. And that's kind of the point. The point of the book is to focus more on the adverbs than the characters and the nouns and everything. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's saying with this, is the nouns don't matter, it's the adverbs, it's the way that things are done. So just that's what the point of each story is to show you the way that these people are falling in love. Pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to their names and how they're all connected. Just let it be kind of this magical, nonsensical world. So I ended up enjoying it a fair amount. It's not like one of my favorite books I've ever read, but I did have a few quotes that were great. I'll read some to you. The opening line, this is one of my favorite opening lines, I think, ever. Love was in the air, so both of us walked through love on our way to the corner. Like, come on. Love is like this. Plenty of places to sit, but an overall feeling that the room needs a good uptight scrubbing until everything that mentions your mother has been washed away. Yeah, I have a question, said the guy with wicked eyes. The wicked eyes were the kind they always were, sort of green and trouble. On my 1 to 10, I gave this 6.83, which is 3.5 Pushinicorns. And then I was listening to Next Year in Havana by Chanel Clayton on audio from Hoopla. I've had that on my want to read for a minute, and I was on Hoopla trying to find an audiobook, and I came across that one. I was like, hey, sure, it's available. Let me listen to it. I started listening to it. First thing, I don't love the narrator, and I always feel kind of bad saying that because it's like an actual human, and I'm just like, I don't like your voice. But I didn't really like the narration. Her voice it was just kind of dead sounding. If you've listened to that audiobook, please let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about and if you agree or disagree. She just had this very, like, let me find a sentence to read. This is my unpopular opinions tag questions. She would be like, a popular book or series that you didn't like. A popular book or series that everyone else seems to hate, but you love. Like just this very kind of monotone, dead, almost robot sounding voice. Like the inflection was weird. It wasn't lively. So I didn't love that. But it wasn't so terrible that made me want to stop. So I just kept listening to it. It was interesting. It was really interesting to learn more about Cuba. And it made me want to pick up a nonfiction book about Cuba and about like the revolution and Fidel Castro and all of that. I was very interested in all of that and just how people lived before then and during and everything. But it started to slog a little bit for me partway through. I got to about 40% of the way through, and then I decided to DNF, you guys. It was getting a little bit repetitive with the descriptions of things and just certain phrases said over and over again. I was like, I get it, you know, whatever. And I didn't love, and I asked Desiree from Libra Labra, that's still her channel name, right? I'm sorry, Desiree, if it's not, but I'm pretty sure it is. I asked her because I was like, I'm pretty sure I remember that you read this book. And spoilers, if you haven't read it yet, I'll put a little thing up that I'm talking about spoilers, and so you can skip ahead until that's gone. But yeah, the main character, Marisol, she's there, and then she meets this dude, Luis, right? That was his name. And she likes him right off the bat, and he, like, literally immediately when he picks her up from the airport, she's like, ooh, this guy. You know, she's interested. But then she finds out he's married. And she's staying in his grandmother's house where, like, his family lives too, I think. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember. Clearly I wasn't paying that much attention to that aspect. But, and so she meets the wife. She meets his wife and his mother. And immediately they're described as basically being bitches to her, like being bitchy and just like having an aura of like, oh, fuck you, get out of here. And I was kind of like, that's convenient. That the grandmother is very welcoming and like, oh my gosh, my best friend, my childhood best friend's granddaughter, come into my home. And that her daughter and her granddaughter-in-law are just like, ugh, why? Fuck her. It just was like, that's really convenient that we're immediately being shown that this man's wife is judgmental and whatever. And then she keeps like having a flirtation with him. Like there's one point where he's out on this patio drinking and she comes out there and he's the only one out there. And in her head, she's like, he's married, don't sit down. And then she's like, I sat down. I'm like, okay, bitch. Like, you're flirting with fire and you're kind of being awful. And then he takes her on a tour of the city of Havana. And the whole day she's just flirting with him and she's just thinking about him and she's thinking about her desire for him. And he's married, you can't. But oh my gosh, I desire him so much. He's married, stop it. It's fine if we just go for a little bit longer. He's married, go back home. You should go back home. And then he's like, let's go for a walk on the boardwalk. And she's like, okay, sure. And then thinking about holding his hand and looking at his hand. And then their hands touching and their pinkies touching and they both just let it sit there. And I was getting more and more mad and annoyed at this fucking character. Because I'm like, I feel like I'm being set up to want them to be together. But bitch, he's married. What the fuck? I don't give a shit if his wife is a bitch. He should deal with that. Like, if he's not happy, then he shouldn't be with her. He should separate himself from her and not be married to her anymore before he's gonna do some shit with this chick. And I just feel like it was leading up to like an affair. And so I asked Desiree, like, hey, does this become cheating? And she did say that they do not cheat, but I forgot to ask if they're like, if the emotional affair kind of escalates and and becomes something. Because at that point it was like a very obvious flirtation. To me, I think that's inappropriate. I'm sorry, if you're married and in a serious relationship, innocent flirting, tee-hee-hee, whatever, okay. If you and your spouse are both cool with that and you're comfortable and confident and secure in your relationship, that's fine. But like this, unspoken desire for each other, we're not gonna say it so that it doesn't become inappropriate, but like we're gonna try to touch each other here and there. I'm sorry, I think you're being unfaithful. I just do. Fight me if you want, I just don't like it. And I don't wanna read this perspective of this chick I'm supposed to like, I guess, and this guy that I'm supposed to want her to be with, but he's fucking married. And I just thought it was really convenient, again, that we were set up with his wife being a snotty, kind of standoffish person. Like, it's gonna help justify later them, like, liking each other. I don't know. And maybe there's more to it. Maybe eventually it comes out that him and his wife hate each other and they're only married for convenience or because of their family or some shit. I don't know. But I feel like that should be discussed initially when you meet another woman then. Like if you and your wife are just married out of convenience and you don't really love each other and you guys are fine like doing stuff on the side, then tell this person that you're interested in that, you know? Like talk about it. Don't just let this become basically an affair. Anyway, so I DNF'd it because I was just annoyed. And like I said, it was just getting repetitive and kind of whatever. So I would rather just go pick up a nonfiction book about all of this time period than read the book. So that is that. Those are the 4 books I wanted to talk about. Obviously, as always, let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, if you've read any of these and have differing opinions. I thank you for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.